7-1, prison riots going on in Attica. Marcus Garvey said go back to Africa. Kept the shit a G, now I've been stacking up. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4. Next level, knocking at your motherfucking door. Let the bass hit your temple and the lyrics hit your core. Sometimes when I rap, it's the spirit of Shakur. And yet it's like...
Hey guys, welcome to Art Subway. We're out here with talented musician, producer, and collective founder of Nu Blaque, Mike Andre. Along with his partner, NexLevo.
Yep.
Awesome.
So tell us what we're going to be doing here today.
We're going to do a performance piece from our recent album, For the Record. But it's going to be interesting. It won't be your standard performance, but it's still going to be an idea of how to experience the music other than just straight audio. So hope you guys enjoy it.
What we wanted to talk to you about is the artist's struggles, because we know that you work with different artists and help them to get their foot into the music industry.
Mm-hmm.
So you are probably the best person to talk about what artists usually go through, and given we had many events that introduced artists to new struggles, we thought it's a timely conversation to have.
Literally last year, couldn't have any events like at all. The only 2 events I put on were live streamed events with New York venues that didn't particularly know how to operate in the pandemic, so that was another layer of confusion. But then still were able to give artists a platform at that time, but that was difficult. To fast forward a year and everybody's bundled up together, it's like it's a weird juxtaposition, but newer challenges are coming up now.
Yeah, we would want to talk about those too.
Yeah.
What to expect in the new year for the artists.
Yeah. I don't know which side of the fence anybody's on with this, but depending on whether you're vaccinated or not, this could be a barrier to an event. Foo Fighters just had a concert where some of their diehard fans couldn't get in because they weren't vaccinated. So that's going to be a commonality, and especially a bias against, Black, brown communities that don't really mix with that sort of thing. The history with medicine, Western medicine, and people of color don't necessarily go back to friendly roots. So that's an inherent bias in how the system's going to run from this point forward. And a lot of the artists I work with are people of color, so it's going to be hard for them to kind of get past that and have to really morally deal with themselves, like, all right, do I want to do the show or do I want to fall back on my values? And I had an event scheduled for like April. I was planning it around February, and then they announced the pandemic. And then we're still going because I have that spirit of just cutting through things. I don't care what's going on. We're going to find out a way to do this. And so it was like, oh, we really can't do this. Like, this is unsafe now. This is at the point where it's not gonna fly. So that was a hard blow to people's concept of what they were valued at in the world. And they had to really struggle with that and figure out, as soon as we're seen as non-essential, all right, what's my gig? How am I feeding myself now?
Do you see any silver linings of the situation? Do you see any new forms of art? Maybe you think that it's positive that artists are now, doing lives with their audiences and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of AR, augmented reality stuff coming to the forefront, and those guys are way ahead, like light years ahead of me in terms of understanding the reality and the nature of like what it's gonna be like, but in terms of lives, personally, I don't really, all right, so when we were coming up and doing when circa whatever 2010s, post blog era stuff. The energy was really come to these shows, find the show, whether it be on Instagram or something, find them, go to this area, do the show, get followers, do it all again. There was even cliques forming around that concept, like just, all right, we're gonna go to this spot every fucking Monday, and excuse my French, every Monday, and we're gonna do these shows, and people are gonna know us for these shows, and we're gonna keep doing it. And that was it. And now the idea is, let me sit in front of this camera and talk to 100 or so people I can't see. So it's odd for me, but you do have to transition a little bit. You know, like that has to come, and I've seen it work for artists. So anything that's working for people, I can't deny it, and two, why not? You know, if it's helping out.
Totally relate to the whole live situation. You know, I also had a show I was planning in February for March, a big paint battle show. And
yes,
you're part of it. Yeah. And as the pandemic hit and everything shut down, I was like, this is not gonna happen. I had to talk to the venue, and it was like, maybe we shouldn't do it right now. And they're like, no, we can do it. And I was like, we'll see.
Right.
We'll see. And then you get the email. You're right. And you're like, this is gonna be on pause for a bit.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Yeah.
like you said, live is a very interesting concept because it's social media, and you have to grow with social media, but that being said, I think what a lot of artists not fail to grasp, but I don't know how to really phrase it, but some social media platforms, as you said, is not for everybody. And, you know, like you said, when you're going live with 3 people and you're a painter, you have to think about setup.
Yeah.
And it's different for someone who performs, or maybe it's a live play on Zoom or something like that. You have to kind of adapt, and learning to fail online is less forgiving than doing it live in person.
Such a good point. Yeah, absolutely.
Because people on social media sometimes gauge you from your followers, unfortunately, because that's just the way the culture is sometimes. So when they go into a room and kind of see you fiddling around and playing out, their chances are that people will stay and see. But some people who are used to the attention span that they have and where they go for their entertainment will just go elsewhere. Because like you said, there are tons of people on Instagram that have been doing it well, that do their own thing, that have their own style and vibe.
Absolutely.
So they're able to really adjust to that. And and to go back to what you said about essential workers, it does hurt when you're told, you know, you're not, you don't matter.
What I do doesn't matter. Yeah.
It's a hard line to cross, because it's like you want to go out there and you want to do your thing and you want to get paid for it. Amidst the pandemic, it's hard to be like, how do I sell my art? How do I pay my bills? These people are also going through that.
Yeah.
Are they choosing my art, or are they choosing their next meal for their family?
Yeah.
It's a hell of a time that we're living in. Pigs want to slaughter and men turning reptilian, trying to break me because they found evidence of my brilliance. We had the code all along, they made us think we were breaking in. What it takes just to survive this life with melanin. Life is like a dream and these niggas think we in the matrix.
We had to perform in front of an actual audience and get that real life, real-time reaction and critique. And I now, like with artists I'm helping to develop, I urge them don't put your music out there right away. Develop it by yourself and kind of make this, you know, take the time to make it it should be fun. It shouldn't, the thing that I keep seeing is like, well, fuck it, we're just gonna blow the bank on this one. Like, let's put it out, let's make it. It's been a trend for a while, but also now it's sped up and it's more expedited because they're kind of seeing like, all right, well, it's not slowing down anytime soon. These labels need music, and they don't care about the artsy stuff. So but I'm like, okay, but now it's the silver lining, like you were mentioning before, is now we have the leverage to kind of dictate the market a little bit more. So why not take more chances and sort of develop in silence, and then come out with some amazing, altering work, and instead of like constantly putting out quick stuff that's not quite developed, that's not quite together, just to gain fans and ears and people who, you're probably not ever gonna meet in real life, but it's not worth it because this should matter to you on some level. Like,
absolutely, we're taught to create because people consume. And one thing that's been lost in the social media age is the art of privacy.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the line, a lot of artists felt like if you get a peek behind the curtain, it'll make people invest in you more. And as you said, the companies, and oftentimes people don't really care about the middle part, the intimate process. They care about the finished product.
Yeah.
And I think that for artists, they should really take time to hone that intimacy. If it was one thing that the pandemic taught me is that, like, it was really nice to just create for myself. And it was really therapeutic to just not be on social media. For the entire pandemic, I posted like barely any art because I was just focusing on my craft. That way, when you come back, you're stronger than ever. You're more confident than ever, and no one can really tell you anything because they weren't with you in the trenches when you were doing it.
Right.
It also depends on an artist, because for me, I was always hiding the process of how I create art, of what I do. I hide everything about myself because I think, it's just not about me. It's about the art, the projects that I create. But at the same time, during the pandemic, I felt like I needed some audience, or I needed somebody's feedback, basically. And I started going more into social media, and I felt it encouraging. That was encouraging for me.
Absolutely.
And I also felt like it made me like stay accountable for continue to create the work that I'm doing, for delivering the projects, and not falling into the mindset, like, nobody needs it, I don't need that. And the encouragement that I get from followers is also really helpful. So there's no recipe for everyone.
That's true as well. And this is a great time to kind of plug my thing that I do, like with Nu Blaque, is it's all about development. We're not necessarily consumer facing. We've tried that. We were founded in 2017, and the whole approach at that time was consumer facing. What do people pay attention to? Until I decided, what, it's gonna get to them one way or another. So let's just focus on what you guys are doing and how you want to do it. And so now I'm tailoring services based on the client instead of like based on what people want. But also keeping in mind that artists do grow at their own rate. So now if they're ready and they have something and it's great, then yeah, I'll help them develop it to get to that audience that they're seeking out. So it could kind of work together. Like, I don't think I would love it if we didn't rely on these platforms 100%. But I think there is some use. I mean, a lot of the stuff I've done is based on Instagram. I can't deny it. Like, I may have not. I might not have used the same tools, but I definitely used it.
On the topic of Nu Blaque, we would love to know about the man behind it, some of your origin, your superhero origin story.
There's no super anything.
And the origin of Nu Blaque and how it came to be.
Sure. So, I started doing a lot of writing in college. So, after I left, I'm gonna throw out this reference. You guys ever watch Pitch Perfect 2?
My sister has. She loves both.
And I didn't watch all of it, but the first part of it was basically them after college realizing, oh, this was just a dream. This is not how the real world is. And I kind of went through that moment. And I had to figure out, okay, so I guess music now? So that's kind of where I went with it. And I was watching this boom as well happen within the artist community, like more and more people recognizing themselves as artists, and then I figured, okay, so a lot of us want to do this, not a lot of us have teams, Because that's, although I didn't fully understand that at the time, I knew that the resources available to some of these artists is what makes them them. It's not quite always talent level or you know, whatever the case may be, but it's really 80, I would say 80% who you know, resources, that sort of thing. So I wanted to act as a resource for these artists that that I knew had something, but I wasn't sure, like, I wasn't sure how to go about it. So in 2017, I registered as a business, and then started forming my team, started thinking about what this thing was. And basically we started out as a media company. And then in 2018, we did our first show, and it went off amazing. It was like, so many people who are still doing it now were at that first show in 2018, and I think everybody kind of felt it at that time, like, oh, this is something. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's something. So we kept doing shows. That was like our main thing. And then, again, just like the artist thing, saw this booming of showcases. Show in which, name a borough. There was shows happening everywhere. And it was kind of like, okay, that's happening, so we're not as needed there. So we kind of fell back a little bit and started doing client-based services. It's completely pro bono, because we know certain artists, there are agencies that you can pay to be your team and to do things for you, but we figured we could play it on the other side and do stuff for people for free. We're building our portfolio and yours as well, so it's sort of an equal exchange there. So we kept doing that, and then 2020 really like exasperated or exacerbated it, because now all we can do is remote work. Like, we can't be out there in the streets or doing any of that stuff. So client-based services became like our bread and butter. So now we're pretty much just working with artists to build out their vision, build out their art, and help them develop. My story is not really that much different from a lot of people of this era. It's, you know, we called it a renaissance. I don't know if we should call it anything now, but it was really a time of just like this big expansion. Arts Ave too, like you guys too, like right next to us, like just seeing all these amazing groups sort of focused on the same thing.
Time is like a flat circle, you know. I think hearing your story and how you come up and how you presented these services and everything, and the small boom of Arts Avenue and all these other collectives, it just always brings me back to the origin of like underground culture in the 80s. Basquiat, Warhol, how everyone slowly came up through connections. And, you know, what I love about Nu Blaque is that, like you said, it's pro bono work, or it's free work, working with these artists as you build your portfolios, you build yourselves up, you build the artists up. And, you know, I think one thing that is forgotten about the arts culture is that the culture is free. And the culture is there for people. You know, hip hop started off free. Back in the day.
That was a long time ago.
Break dancing on cardboard mats, DJs pulling up with old school records from their mom's house, trying to get a spin, trying to play some music and learn as they go. You know, that vibe, that spirit essentially is kind of like a renaissance, because it always carries from one generation to the next purely. And those who continue to do that, there'll always be a space for that type of culture and art.
Absolutely. I love what you said about Basquiat, because that whole era inspires me so much. So yes, all those guys, they inspire me so much, because I'm like, holy crap, you guys laid the groundwork. Like, you're everything I'm doing right now. They would call them salons and boutiques and different things like that. Right, like all those things they used to do. I'm like, oh, all right. Especially, and New York in the 80s was kind of what we're seeing right now. A little bit grungy and messed up.
But I think it's so hard these days, or I think these days, because I live these days, to create a collective, to keep together a group of artists, because many artists, you know, creatives, they have their own visions, and I find it very difficult to like keep a group together of when we talk about artists, even if they're from different disciplines. So what do you think, like, do you face the same challenges?
Oh yeah.
And what is your secret?
There's no, it's I'm still in many ways learning to be more sensitive to artist sensibilities, because they, you know, it's difficult, like you said it perfectly. We haven't cycled through that many artists since we started the client base, like started to grow the client base part of what we do, but it's been tough to, you know, I think even if we weren't doing art, just to keep people together anyway would be difficult. What I tend to do is just the rhythm of it. Okay, if these guys are going away, I need to fall back. I don't need to press them, or because most of the time what happens is I guess the energy of what we're doing, it kind of clicks at some point with them, and they're like, oh, I always had a home here, like with these guys, let me go back, let me work with them, let me develop something. And and when they come back, it's even better, because now they're more clear about what they want to do. You know, sometimes they just knew they wanted to be an artist, and then life happened and it was like, all right, time to put food on the table. And then, you know, 2 years later, they're like, but now I know I'm an artist. Like, I just wanted to do art before. Now I know, like, I'm actually a person that's inclined to do that stuff. Let's work, let's develop. So yeah, my thing is fall back when, you know, it gets a little strange and confusing. If the mission is set and you know exactly what it is, people will always magnetize to it. If there's no mission, the collective is going to disperse because they don't know what they're doing. Most of these collectives span around a year, 2 years. We've been going 4 or 5 years strong. So I'm really proud of that. And I think it's due to like just the work ethic of and the dedication like to the mission like that I've had, and then that people that are a part of my team tend to have towards like, hey, you know, I know stuff is hard right now, but we're still gonna work on this. Like, we haven't forgotten anything. We're still gonna do this. I just gotta do my thing right now. So.
Fabric. You wish like Aladdin while we alchemize through patterns. Recognition of our gifts is what uplifted us through tragic tales of the black male in America. Ironically, there isn't enough black male to convict these characters. You know it's fuck when shit don't add up like no algebra. They're only ploy to make us seem unhuman as the tools used to toil the soil that we build their dreams on. Meanwhile, we in the field singing the same old slave song.
Completely real. I'm working. I'm doing work for a company. You know, I was, for most of the pandemic, I found myself consulting, doing consulting work while also like working on Nu Blaque, which was stressful. Now I've kind of like started to lay out a schedule and allocate more to more people, even though I haven't as much. A lot of the big stuff that allowed this thing to move forward was funding. So securing the proper funding through, I guess, the right means. You could find an angel investor, you could, you know, that's business stuff, but I think it came down to, like, I'm going to do this whether anybody sees me or not. It's always been that, like, no matter what happens, I'm gonna do this, even if I'm just a guy in his apartment, like, creating, like, I'm going to do this. So, and then I tend to reach out to people that I know are right for certain things, so that has a chain reaction as well, like an effect that spans through, like, you know, it's like a domino effect. So that's kind of the work of it. That's the equal exchanges. So the individual that stays in the center of this thing is always going to be me. and I want to allocate more responsibilities. But if I don't have those people, that's fine. But most people have surprised me though, and you know, I can say the longest run I've had with an artist, it's probably been 3 years now. So I've been working steadily with some artists for 3 years, and you know, and it's great because they've stayed down. But again, if they have a better deal, or they find a group they're more comfortable with, okay, you know, it kind of is what it is.
It's a lot like being mama bird.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh man.
You build the nest. You find the right partners. All the kids are born or they come. You watch them learn how to fly. You watch them fail a couple of times. You encourage them. You feed them what they need, their resources.
Yeah.
And then, as all things, they must go.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you really love an act or people, it's like, damn, like, a little longer with me. It's like, gotta go off to World College. Sorry, ma, I gotta go. And you're like,
right.
I know, you know.
Yeah.
I struggled with that too with our like set of artists. Or musicians that would come every show, or artists that stayed with us for like 20 something shows out of the 25, 27 shows that we've thrown, and they're like, I gotta do some stuff, and I'm like, yep, because Arts Avenue has always been this platform where, you know, it's home. So no matter what avenue you're on, you know exactly how to get here.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
And going back to our conversation about challenges and struggles, there is this notion of artists, you know, to create great art, you have to suffer, you have to overcome certain challenges.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
The reset is more important than the struggle. Like, when you're going through, like, I guess the rhythm of your life and things are happening, like, the bad doesn't necessarily have to follow the good stuff that's happened. Like, it could be good, and then it could be better, and then you can go on and do your best. Like, your better can turn into your best, and that could be your life. It doesn't have to necessarily be, I'm at the top, and you know, like all those music documentaries and stuff, like the trend is like the top of the top, and then they end up
the bottom.
right. It doesn't have to go that way. I've definitely struggled. I've gone through my difficult time when I was running Nu Blaque. I was still doing shows and wondering where I was gonna sleep that night. So that's a super like deeper convo. But why I'm saying that is because my disposition was the art. Like, that was my life. Like, the art. All right, this shit matters right now. All right, everything else fine, going in whatever direction, but the art. So, do you have to go through struggle to make great art? No, but it helps a lot. It keeps the dark stuff out, to me anyway. When things could have gotten really dark, I had some to turn to. So, and I think talking about the struggle creates amazing art. You could turn that into something beautiful. But I've seen, for lack of a better word, some really privileged folks make some really amazing art. These guys aren't struggling at all. If you're in a hard place right now, know that something beautiful can come out of it, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. Our entire work is a commentary on struggle. So what you're listening to is a retrospective of like some messed up stuff that happened in life already. So I'm glad I have that outlet to speak on it.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard sometimes in the moment when you are, you know, experiencing certain struggle to remember that you can turn it into something, and that you have that outlet, not necessarily with the like intention, oh, I'm just gonna create the most amazing art right now, but to help yourself.
Yeah.
Do you have any reminders for yourself of that? What helps me usually, and sometimes it's accidental, I go back to like the old folders of some art that I created a long time ago, and somehow it shows me, you know, you can do this now, or you can do something different now, and use that outlet. Do you have any reminders for yourself in those moments that you can turn to art?
Yeah, you're actually reminding me now, because there was a point in, like, I guess some point in this year where, like, I got in a really creative space because I had moved to a new area, didn't know too many people, so I kind of just fell back into my creative self, and did a lot of work that kind of reminded me, like, oh, I used to not know how to do this, and so now the constant reminder is now, continue to put yourself in front of things that, challenge you, because, like, it's frustrating in the beginning, but there's a sense of, like, victory and accomplishment after getting through it. So, like, simple recording programs that I didn't know how to use 2 years ago, that, like, I literally banged my head against for like a year and went through, like, that's the kind of stuff that keeps me motivated and going.
I ask this a lot.
This is traditional Manny's question.
Right.
But it's probably going to have a new take.
It probably will, yeah, this time around. So,
Okay.
any art piece in history, you get to say, any music, anything, film, anything, you get to say, I made that, claim it. What are you claiming?
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Probably from that era we were talking about in the 80s. Like, if I could be like one of those, curators at that time, I would probably claim a Basquiat piece, a Herring piece, like one of those guys. I would, musicianship wise, I would love to, like, a Bad Brains record. Like, if I could have been a part of making one of those, that would have been amazing. I think Basquiat made music, right? Like, he kind of he had a stint with it.
He had a stint with it. Yeah, he had a small stint with it. I think through the help of, like, Ramel Z. Wanted to do some stuff.
That's
Ramel
right.
was doing a lot of, like, crazy stuff.
That's
music,
Yeah.
art, installation. He himself is an art piece. Everything.
Yeah. Like, also, I gotta say, a Fab Five Freddy piece. Like, if I could get one of his paintings or one of his records, yeah.
Can you imagine there are people in the future who are, like, naming us when they answer these questions? Like, those guys in 2020, like Mike Andre, Natasha, and Manny.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I would say to them, like, please don't think, like, this is something that's super calculated. Like, just kind of do it because it comes, like, sort of natural to you. Like, probably do us proud, I guess.
Carry the spirit.
Yeah.
That's all you gotta do.
There you go.
Just carry the spirit.
That's the way.
As long as the culture is there.
Yeah, that's the way.
The work is halfway done.
Like, I didn't necessarily plan. Like, I had to learn, but most of this was uncalculated, and sometimes a mistake at times created beautiful work in the process. But one of the mistakes was I didn't know how much older I was than the artists I was working with. I came into the scene really when I was like 22, 23. Most of the artists at that time were still in high school that I work with right now. I didn't realize that. I wasn't even thinking about it because I'm like, oh yeah, we're all artists. Yeah. But it has an effect on how you communicate with these guys and, like, what they think of you. Like, you're this older dude, and you know about art, and now they're trying to do the same thing, and they're younger and they're looking up at you, but that's not an intended effect. I believed we and I still believe we all are peers, but it's just kind of, you take a role at some point to help it move. When you're doing this and when you're playing a role, like, that's another struggle. Is like, okay, I have art too, so I kind of want to grow too, guys. But then you've taken on this role, so now you feel obliged by your agreement to yourself and to the people that you work with that I'm going to be here to support you, but I'm an artist, yeah. So my journey of developing music was, like, as a solo act, try to find my sound there as everybody else is. And then one of my good friends that I got introduced to when I was just starting out, he gave me some music, like when nobody was giving me beats, he was giving me music, and our chemistry just kind of worked together. So his name is NexLevo, and then the year after that, we decided to form the group Don't Play the Radio, and it took us about 3-4 years to develop this art. I wish I had like a thing to show you if you want to insert it, but it's called For the Record, this album that we curated as a sort of documentary. Like the concept of it is a documentary of two black men in their later 20s, and the concepts of what we're going through throughout life. We're super proud of it. The way we released it wasn't usual, which I still get a little backlash for, because most of the time people want it on Spotify, Apple Music, but I couldn't live with the fact that we're still this very obscure group with a name that might not ring that popular, and I think it should kind of stay that way until we develop the music more. So we released it on Bandcamp and SoundCloud, just for like personal people who really mess with us.
That is amazing.
Thank you, man.
I love the commitment to working with your partner as well as working with the people that you know and releasing it to the people that you know, and putting it into the universe. When people find it, and spreading it through the word of mouth, through performances and everything like that. It grows truly organic, and you have that semblance, that full on control over it, and how it like continues to grow. If you had to pick a song that was very valuable to you in the creation process of that album, which would that be?
Oh wow, that's a great question. Probably the ones that we recorded last year, because we had about like 60% of the album done in 2019 and was gonna release it last year. What happened. So then learning not to go according to plan, learning to kind of let things happen and let the rhythm of things happen. So one of those songs that we created is called Unusual Suspects, and it kind of it's a classic boom bap beat, but it was a song that we never had in mind for this album. It came in last minute from a producer we love, Tizza, and she gave it to us, and we did our thing. And I think it's kind of the centerpiece of the project, because it kind of there's how we kind of sequenced it was early stuff on the front end, and then the later stuff on the back end. So you could kind of hear throughout the project like our growth and our voices, and then just how it kind of morphs and changes throughout.
One prison riots going on in Attica. Marcus Garvey said go back to Africa. Kept the shit at G, now I've been stacking up 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4. Next level knocking at your motherfucking door. Let the bass hit your temple and the lyrics hit your core. Sometimes when I rap it's the spirit of Shakur, and yet it's like a bitch, she the angel I adore. Catch you while you snoozing, while you sleep, dreaming while you snore. Born in 92, started rapping 94. Check it. If we all God's children, why you hate, son? If you don't like niggas, then girl, why you date one? Oh, you like my big dick and my nappy hair? Well, I'ma let you know what's really about to happen here. I'ma empty out the register, hit your frontal lobe if it ain't register. Falling down the staircase and step it up. My whole life a nigga been competitor. And I'm just getting better, bruh.
Chasing the everlasting dream, and then try to make you feel discouraged and make it seem unattainable. it's a hell of a time that we're living in. Pigs wanna slaughter and men turning reptilian, trying to break me cause they found evidence of my brilliance. We had the code all along, they made us think we were breaking in. What it takes just to survive this life with melanin. Life is like a dream and these niggas think we in the Matrix. It's just a trick like magic reality. It's plastic molded how you want, but just don't tear through the fabric. You wish like Aladdin while we alchemize through patterns. Recognition of our gifts is what uplifted us through tragic tales of the black male in America. Ironically, there isn't enough black male to convict these characters. You know it's fuck with shit don't add up like no algebra. They're only ploy to make us seem unhuman as the tools used to toil the soil that we build they dreams on. Meanwhile, we in the field singing the same old slave songs. If they think we falling for the okie doke, they dead wrong. Trying to play God. Image so ugly they can never fit the part or stand next to our live for our eyes realize the true awe of the all unscrambling brainwaves causing an upset. Tactics so covert they label us unusual suspects. Tactics so covert they label us unusual suspects.
Go back to Africa. Kept the shit in G, now I've been stacking up.